even turned the radio on in this car since I've had it. There's no reason for tunes.
Professional entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds so good. Hi-ho, Keegan the Vlog here. Welcome back to 308 Wrench Time, and I'm finally getting around to the promised video of timing belt job on a Ferrari 308. It has been a bit of a challenge jockeying 3 project cars at the same time. We're in a situation now where the Triumph frame is away being painted. There it is. The DeLorean clutch job from hell is finally over. And it's 65 degrees today, so I really wanted to get this car out and back out on the road. When I bought this car, I talked extensively with the previous owner about the service that had been done to it in the past. When he bought the car, it had just had a major service, which included belts, which included the timing belts. That was 17 years ago. The car only has 4,000 miles more on it now than it did then, so these belts haven't timed out, but they've kind of aged out. So we've been gathering the parts to do this job over time. We've just about got everything together, and we've got time and space and the parts that we need to do the 308 timing belts. So let's get into it. All right, we're just getting set up here to get started with the timing belts job. I'll show you what we got going. First of all, you can see we've got a new set of tires on the old rims. These are the US spec wheels, the 7.5 by 14s, and tires for these wheels are readily available. The TRX wheels, the wheels that are on the car, are metric, and I have found a couple of places that sell these tires. However, the price tag on them, well, we'll probably eventually put those tires on, but for now, we're just gonna run with the US spec tires and the US spec wheels. Even though this car has been pretty much outfitted Euro spec, that's gonna look a little strange for a minute, but that's all right. This is for driving, not for showing. We got our parts bin set up here. We've got our cam lock tools that we ordered a while back. This is some binder clips, and you'll see this is part of the Birdman's procedure that we're gonna run. Accessory belts, timing belts, tensioner bearings. We've got the procedure. I'll link to this in the description and also to Birdman's page. There's got a lot of other service procedures. If you've got one of these cars, you probably already know about this. Also, what I've done is created a checklist out of the Birdman procedure. So we've got our procedure ready to go. We've got our parts ready to go. We've got our bin ready to go to collect fasteners that come off the car. Let's get into it. We disconnect the battery because we don't want there to be any chance of the starter engaging during this procedure. The engine is going to be, the top is going to be disconnected from the bottom, and if they get out of time, then bad things happen. First time having this off. All right. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove this boot because I've got a new one. All right, the next step is to remove the rear cam belt cover. We're gonna get our first look at the timing belts, well, the rear timing belt. So rear meaning the rear of the car. So this is the rear bank, that is the front bank. So every time I say rear, I mean this side. Every time I say front, I mean that side. So if you look at the engine right now, that's the V, and it's just mounted sideways. So it looks like 3 bolts there to take that off. Let's see if we can bend this guy out of the way. Okay, I'll get down in here and see what's leaking. It looks like we might have some axle seal leaking. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? Little update to the procedure here. Looks like I can't squeeze the timing belt cover around this port that comes out the bottom of the air intake box on the Jetronic. So we're just gonna take that off. All right. So this is what I'm talking about. This hose, this port right here was interfering with getting the timing belt cover off. Okay, all right, there we go. All right. Crud, but I'm not exactly sure where it's coming from. Not exactly sure where it's coming from. Belt should have writing on it, but it doesn't. Not super tight, which is good. It doesn't look terrible, but it kind of looks terrible. It's old. So, you know. Okay, so the next thing that has to come off is this, which is a coolant tube, which means the coolant has to be drained. So, here we go. We got that loose. All right, next step is to take off the alternator belt. So we're gonna loosen that nut there, and you can see the bracket. It's gonna be hard to film. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get in there with a camera, but probably gonna have to. Shit, I don't even know. Might have to do that blind. Okay, so here's what it took to get the alternator belt loose. Here's the extension way over here. Running. I think if you can see it. All the way down here. So, got it off. We're in here loosening the... That's a technical term. Okay, get that out of the way. All right, there it is. All right. All right, the disassembly phase is over. Let's have a look in here. So there's the front bank, there's the rear bank. A couple things on the procedure to note. There's a little stud on the back here of the front timing belt cover. and that holds the ground for the electrical connector of the air compressor itself. And it also, that bracket also holds on, will hang up the cover if you don't take that off. So you have to take it off anyway to move the air conditioning compressor. But once you do that, just make sure that bracket there slips over the stud. Probably going to be changing out the water pump while we're in here. I'm just gonna have to order one. I didn't do that straight away because I thought that this engine was set up such, and it looks like maybe you can get to it by just taking the front. So that cover kind of goes over top of these bolts here. You might be able to get a wrench in there, but I'm not gonna mess with that. We're this far into it. If this thing sits up here for a week, it's not a big deal. So I'm going to, this is Sunday, on Monday I'm gonna order a water pump. The forward bank looks a lot cleaner than the rear bank. When we get in here, it looks like the bottom crank seal on the rear bank is leaking. We'll clean all this up and then have a peek in here a little bit later and see what's leaking. But with 40,000 miles on it, this thing probably is gonna have to do an engine out service at some point in the not too distant future. So I'm not gonna go too far into it now. Flywheel inspection plate. Very difficult to see on this one. I'm gonna have to unplug some stuff and get down. There it is. There it is. I have to take that off. All right, we got the engine at top dead center. You can see the timing mark. See the timing mark is lined up right there, and it's really hard to see on the cam. I'll try to get the light in there. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to show it. Can't get the right angle on there. We could have locked it anywhere. We're just doing that so when we go back to put this together, it's just another sanity check. So I'm gonna put the car in fifth. Parking brake is on. Now we're gonna put the cam lock tools on. Right.
Know that, but you know that something suddenly started circulation. It isn't one thing, it's another.
Timing belt on.
What?
A sale in New Zealand.
Oh, we did America's Cup time?
Yeah. All right, the timing belts are on, the tensioners are on, but they're not tensioned. The tensioners are not torqued yet. Also, when I have this water pump off, I'm gonna look up in there and see if there's a chance that this will give me better access to take the intake off. That has to come off to refresh some hoses, and I've got that while you're in there feeling. Let's get this water pump off. Okay, while we're waiting for the water pump to show up, what we're gonna end up doing here is go in this way for taking the top of the intake off. So we have access to 4 of the 8 bolts, and then we can get into this valley here and refresh all of these hoses, the hoses on the underside here. I've got them all sitting in a box, so we've got all that here. We should just go ahead and take care of that. Okay, what I've done is slid some construction paper in here because there are shims that I am concerned about falling into that intake. So, so I just want to make absolute sure that when we pull this thing off, nothing falls down those holes. That would be bad. Okay, troubling situation averted. It was this shim right here. This shim here was missing. So we went into the valley of death with the magnet and felt around for a little bit and found it. So it did not go down the intake tube as I had feared. So we've got the intake tubes all plugged up, and wow, look at that. Yeah, this is a good thing we're in here. That's no good. That is no good. And I know for sure that this one here is leaking. So we're gonna get organized here and get these hoses off. Intake off on a Ferrari 308. That was challenging. A lot of that was done by feel. There was no visual access to it, and it had to be done by open-ended wrenches, so you were getting like a quarter of a turn at best. These hoses needed to be refreshed. Let's just say that. So this is a really good thing that we're taking care of this now. The while you're in there itis has bitten us with yet another car. Good times. Okay, more while you're in there itis. Hello. A little breezy out there. More while you're in there itis happening. If you look back there, now that the intake's off, I'm gonna go ahead and do the wires and also the plugs because I'm not sure if you got the plugs or not. With these iridium, they recommend not gapping them because they're brittle. So the gap should be fine. The gap should be fine from the factory. But what you do have to do, and what you can't forget to do, is take this little guy off here, because the spark plug wires on the Ferrari has this little extension that clips onto that stud without the adapter on it. So the wire has the standard fitting to go on that, but that goes onto this post here, and that is what plugs into the spark plug. And if you don't there you go. And if you don't take that post off, it won't make contact, and you'd be kind of SOL. So you can almost see this one. Almost. All right, after being a little sidetracked with a Tatra, we're back here with the Ferrari, and took a little bit of figuring out how to get the spark plug leads out of the distributor cap. So if you can see in there, there are little set screws for all 4 of the spark plugs. However, the lead for the ignition coil itself goes in here, and it was unclear how to get to that, and Birdman to the rescue again, noting that this little plunger here, this little spring-loaded plunger here, just pulls out, and this set screw is underneath of it. So that's out, and now we can continue. Hey, Steve! Right now I'm just cleaning off the ends of these coolant pipes that have all the corrosion and stuff on them. So I'm just using a Scotch-Brite pad and cleaning the ends to prepare for the new hoses to go back on. Not complicated, but tedious. A couple things have popped up. This housing here, where it attaches to the engine, has an O-ring. The new pump did not come with this O-ring for this housing, so we have to get that. And since we're gonna have to wait on gaskets, there is also a gasket on the intake surface here that we don't have. So we're gonna try to get that gasket as well, because I really just don't like reusing gaskets. That's not something that I'm into, and I want to take this apart again. So time to order some parts. All right, we're in the car. A bit of a crap weather day here, and some of the parts that I've got on order to finish this thing up are causing problems. So nobody in the States appears to have a thermostat or the gasket housing, so that is coming from Italy. Apparently in Italy they don't have the right ones, or they've got ones that almost fit. I'm not really sure what's going on with that. But there is a Ferrari dealership in Philadelphia, and we are in basically Baltimore, Annapolis, Maryland, so it's less than 100 miles away, which is about a quarter of a tank of fuel in the Volkswagen here, and I've got nothing but time, so they've got the parts I need. They're relatively close by, so we're just gonna go up and get them and just nip this problem in the bud. Okay, I got a little distracted in the Ferrari dealership because, well, that is a 512. The injected model. This is a BBI. I've never seen one of these before in person, and the only time I can remember actually seeing one recently, even not in person, is on the Ratarossa channel. Pretty amazing that this is here, and even more amazing, there's another one downstairs. This is a 512 BB. 2 512s in the same place. Amazing. I'm into the classic ones, but this is a dealership, so there's some new blood here too. And of course, a 308. This is a quattro valve model, a little bit newer than mine, 84 I believe.
Okay, that was absolutely fascinating. 2 BBIs in the same place. Got a couple of pictures of those for you. Also got our parts so we can continue our project and get my 308 back on the road, hopefully this weekend. So.
Water pump in, the cooling pipe is temporarily reinstalled, and all the hoses, I believe, are tightened down, so we're gonna pressure test this thing and see what we get. Appears to be holding pressure. I'm gonna listen. So this is where I know it was leaking before because I could hear it, and I cannot now. All right, I am satisfied with that. Still at 1, hadn't moved. It's better than it was before. New spring. Not exactly sure how to film this, but it's time to position the air conditioning compressor. So the bracket is back on. There's a bit of hardware that has to go on this. So I think what I'm gonna do is the studs are still in the compressor. So I'm gonna stick the compressor through the mount, thread the nuts on, the top washers and the nuts, and let it hang by that and leave enough gap in there where I can put the spacers in on the bottom, and they're U-shaped, so if I do this right, then they will hold their position while I tighten everything up. So wish me luck. All right, now we find out if we hooked everything up correctly. There we go. Feels good.
That's music.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's like butter. Woo! No shaking. It's brilliant. Well, she's back together and the engine's running and it didn't tear itself apart, so I guess I did the timing belts right. Oh my goodness, what a day. Got a Tatra running this morning and we're driving a Ferrari this afternoon. Man!
That exhaust sound.
It's
music.
Yes. I haven't turned the radio on in this car since I've had it. There's no reason for tunes.
That's your entertainment.
Oh, absolutely. It sounds so good. Hey, that's going to do it for this edition of 308 Wrench Time. Timing belt's done. Hose is done. New tires. This car is good to go for the driving season. Can't wait to do it. Hey, thanks for watching. See you next time.